It is February 8th, 2024, and I just completed the next to last book of the James Bond Ian Fleming series, The Man with the Golden Gun. And this book is only 158 pages. So I was excited to get onto this one, thinking I've only got this one and then the short story book, which is the remaining Octopussy and the Living Daylights. That's the next one up. But there's only a couple stories in this. It's very short. So this is the last novel, and I was excited to read the last James Bond novel. As you may or may not know, I've read all of them in the order that they were released. And I'm sad to say that this one is my least favorite so far. So the thing with this book is it started very well, and it was continued on from the prior book where there was a false death. They thought he died, but he was suffering amnesia, and he fell into the hands of the KGB because he can remember he did some kind of stuff with the Russians, just didn't want to know what it was. And they brainwashed him, and he went off and attacked his own unit after being found alive. And they went through the effort to basically recover his memory so that he wasn't considered a criminal or whatever, even though he did a bad attack on his own unit. And after that, it goes way downhill and becomes boring. And it's hard to imagine that a book only 150 pages is going to get slow and tedious, but it did. So everybody hears The Man with the Golden Gun, or that title sounds great. The title in itself is much, much more interesting than the actual story. And I would say in general, Ian Fleming is very good at creating ideas. Some of the books are pretty good. Some of them are not so good. But there's always tidbits in there that are ideas. And that's why the movie series, it seems to me, is better than the book series. This was a good idea base for a movie series. And I think it came to its best fruition with the movie series. But there are some good books in the series. So I have enjoyed myself. I'll be ranking all of these. I'll just rank them now for the heck of it, but I'll tell you about The Man with the Golden Gun. It just really is just a guy with a golden gun. And he's tied in with some crime mob guys, and it's in Jamaica. And Bond becomes this like security guard, but then they figure out he's a spy, and they try to kill him, and there's a shootout. So I'm not worried about spoilers because I don't feel like this book's very good, and you probably won't enjoy reading it, and I'm not really spoiling anything for anybody. So like I said, it started very promising, and then when I read like 50 pages the first day, I thought, oh, this is going to be good. And then it just deteriorated. And for reference, I went to the wiki page after the fact, and it said that basically it was like half a book that never came to fruition. He didn't live much longer after writing this and the short stories. So I suspect he was suffering health problems or something, because it just doesn't feel like he was fully in this one. So didn't like it. So my ranking so far, still Moonraker is the best one in my opinion. Goldfinger, as obnoxious and wild as it is, it was very fun. Second, From Russia with Love, great book that translated to a great movie. Live and Let Die, while still highly racist, it was very entertaining, a lot of goofy stuff in it. And as I said before, I got this pattern of goofy to serious in my ranking, but that's kind of how it played out. You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Casino Royale, Dr. No, Thunderball. And honestly, from Thunderball down is where they started not being that great. So Thunderball, Diamonds Are Forever, I really didn't like. For Your Eyes Only was I think the short story collection. It only had one good story in it, and it was the title one, For Your Eyes Only. The Spy Who Loved Me was ridiculous. Just a goofy book. And, and I quarreled in my own mind as to whether to put this above or below The Spy Who Loved Me, because The Spy Who Loved Me was ridiculous, but it was never boring. And although this had a good intro, it became boring. So ultimately, I think this truly is my least favorite of the books. So that's my ranking so far. Hopefully, Octopussy and the Living Daylights won't go below those. But because they're short stories, odds are high that they're going to be at the bottom of the list or near the bottom of the list. So this was the 13th book, became the 9th movie, and it took me a mere 5 days to read. And honestly, I should have finished it faster than that, but it got boring and I didn't want to read it. One day I only read 20 pages because I couldn't do more than that. So, yeah, almost done. So I've got all the reviews of every book so far, and for some reason somebody didn't like my critiques of Live and Let Die, and they muted the sound on it. So there's only a typed review in that video page if you go back and watch this series. But on the next video, I'm going to be giving not only the full ranking from one to last, but I'll also be comparing the movies that I watched, all in series in 2011, I think it was. And I have the Netflix history and my star rating. So we'll see how these books translated to movies, in my opinion, and which movie was better than the other ones and so forth. And a lot of the movies are not faithful to the books. They're just totally fabricated stories. So like I said, this series in general, it's good, but it was better at coming up with ideas perhaps than full-blown stories.